The warning arrived on a Tuesday morning. Admiral Chen sat in the Unified Defense Council chamber, watching the alien transmission play for the 5th time. The creature on the screen looked almost human, but its skin shimmered with silver scales and its eyes were too large, too bright. It called itself Ambassador Velmoth of the Valorian Empire. "People of Earth," the ambassador said, its voice smooth and cold. "Your world has been selected for integration into the Valorian Empire. You have 72 hours to accept our terms. Surrender your weapons, open your networks, and pledge loyalty to Emperor Kresheval the Eternal. Refuse, and your planet will be reduced to ash. This is not a negotiation. This is mercy." The transmission ended. Silence filled the room. "How many ships?" General Martinez asked. 300, Chen replied. His voice was steady, but his hands trembled slightly. "Our deep space sensors picked them up 6 hours ago. They're holding position just past Mars' orbit. And we have 40 ships," President Okonkwo said quietly. She wasn't asking. Everyone in the room knew the numbers. 40 modern warships against 300 alien vessels that had conquered nearly 1,000 star systems. Defense Minister Zhao stood up, his chair scraping against the floor. "We have to surrender. There's no other option. Maybe if we cooperate, they'll let us keep some autonomy." Maybe they'll treat us like pets," Chen interrupted. "I've read the reports from the probe we sent to Proxima Centauri. The Valorians found the colony there 10 years ago. You know what they did? They took everyone who resisted and made them into living computers, stripped their minds and plugged them into mining equipment." The room grew colder. "So what do you suggest?" Okonkwo asked. "We can't fight them." Chen was quiet for a long moment. He was 73 years old. He'd spent 50 years in the Unified Earth Navy, rising through the ranks during peacetime. Humanity had been united for 2 centuries now. The last war on Earth had been the unification conflict, and that had ended before Chen was born. But Chen remembered the stories his grandfather had told him. Stories about the old days when Earth wasn't unified, when nations fought each other with weapons so terrible that using them meant accepting your own destruction. "There might be something," Chen said slowly, "something old." Everyone looked at him. During the unification wars, both sides built weapons that... He paused, choosing his words carefully. Weapons that were never meant to be used. Doomsday devices. Planet killers. Ships designed to win wars by making sure nobody could win. Those were all destroyed, Zhao said. The unification treaty required it. Most of them were, Chen agreed. But I remember something from when I was a young officer. I was assigned to Jupiter Station for a few months. We were doing routine patrols through the graveyard. The graveyard. Everyone knew about it. When Earth unified, both sides had agreed to decommission their worst weapons. But destroying them was expensive and dangerous. So instead, they'd been taken to Jupiter's Lagrange points and left there, orbiting forever in the gas giant's shadow, out of sight, out of mind. There was a ship, Chen continued. We weren't supposed to get close to it. It was in a restricted zone. But you know how young officers are, curious. We took our patrol boat near it just to look. It was massive. Bigger than anything we have now. And it was covered in weapons. Not elegant weapons. Just guns, hundreds of guns. My commanding officer saw us looking at it and dragged us away. He told us to forget we'd ever seen it. What was it called? Okonkwo asked. The UES Prometheus, Chen said. It was a prototype, part of Project Ragnarok. Both sides built one near the end of the war, just before the peace treaty. They were designed for one purpose. If diplomacy failed, nothing on the other side would survive. Martinez leaned forward. Why wasn't it destroyed? I don't know, Chen admitted. Maybe it was too dangerous to dismantle. Maybe someone thought it might be useful someday. Maybe they just forgot about it. But if it's still there, if its systems are still functional... That was 200 years ago, Zhao protested. The technology would be ancient. Useless against modern ships. Modern ships designed for fighting primitives, Chen said. The Valorians have never faced real resistance. They've conquered hundreds of worlds, but all of them were weaker than the Empire. When was the last time they fought someone who could actually hurt them? And you think a 200-year-old ship could hurt them? Okonkwo asked. Chen stood up and walked to the window. Outside he could see the skyline of Geneva, peaceful and beautiful under the morning sun. How many more mornings did they have? Our ancestors were fighting each other, Chen said. They were fighting people who had the same technology, the same training, the same desperation. The weapons they built weren't designed to conquer. They were designed to end threats completely. No prisoners, no mercy. Just elimination. He turned back to face the council. I don't know if the Prometheus can win, he admitted. But I know it was built to fight enemies that our ancestors actually feared. And our ancestors had good reason to fear themselves. The room was silent for a long moment. Finally, Okonkwo spoke. How long would it take to reach Jupiter? With a fast ship? 36 hours, Chen said. That gives us 36 hours to reactivate a 200-year-old weapon, Martinez said. If it even still works? If it doesn't work, we're in the same position we're in now, Chen replied. Defeated. But if it does? If it does, we might have a chance, Okonkwo finished. She looked around the room at the other council members. All in favor? The vote was unanimous. 6 hours later, Chen stood in the hangar bay of the UNS Fitzgerald, a fast courier ship. He'd assembled a crew of 20 volunteers. Engineers, weapons specialists, a medical officer, and a handful of security personnel. All of them knew this was probably a one-way trip. Chief Engineer Sarah Park approached him. She was young, only 35, but she was the best systems engineer in the fleet. She'd also written her doctoral thesis on pre-unification military technology. Sir, she said, I've been reading everything I can find about Project Ragnarok. It's not much. Most of the files were classified and then lost. But what I found, she paused. Sir, there's a reason they never used these ships. The Prometheus was designed with an acceptable casualty rate. For its own crew, Chen nodded slowly. I know. Do the others know? They will, Chen said. When they need to. The Fitzgerald launched 10 minutes later, burning hard for Jupiter. Behind them, Earth's 40 modern warships took up defensive positions around the planet. It wouldn't be enough. Everyone knew it wouldn't be enough, but maybe, just maybe, something forgotten in the darkness beyond Jupiter would be. As they accelerated away from Earth, Chen pulled up the only known image of the Prometheus on his personal terminal. It looked nothing like modern ships. Those were sleek and elegant, designed to inspire confidence and project power. The Prometheus looked like hate-given form. All angles and armor and gun barrels. It looked like something that had been built to kill, and nothing else. Chen closed his eyes and hoped they weren't making a terrible mistake. Behind them, the Valorian fleet began its slow, confident advance toward Earth. The clock was ticking. The graveyard appeared on their screens 32 hours after leaving Earth. Chief Engineer Park had never seen anything like it. Thousands of objects drifted in the darkness, caught in Jupiter's gravitational embrace. Old satellites, decommissioned space stations, and ships. So many ships, it's like a museum, Lieutenant Torres whispered from the pilot's seat. Or a cemetery. Admiral Chen stood behind him, staring at the display. Somewhere in that vast field of metal and memory was the Prometheus. If it was still there. If it hadn't been secretly destroyed decades ago. If the records were right, start scanning, Chen ordered. Look for something big. Really big. The sensors swept through the graveyard. Most of the objects were small, easily identifiable. A destroyer from the Pacific Alliance. A carrier from the European Federation. Weapons platforms. Defense satellites. All the tools of war that humanity had built when it was busy trying to destroy itself. Got something, Torres said. Sector 7, it's massive. 3 times the size of our largest carrier. That's it, Chen said quietly. Take us in. The Fitzgerald moved slowly through the debris field. Twice they had to change course to avoid collision with dead satellites. Once they passed close to an old missile platform. Its launch tube still open, still pointing at empty space where an enemy had once been. Finally, they saw it. The UES Prometheus hung in the darkness like a sleeping monster. Park felt her breath catch. The ship was enormous, nearly 2 kilometers long, shaped like a thick wedge. But what struck her most was how crude it looked. Modern ships had smooth lines, elegant curves. The Prometheus was all sharp angles and flat surfaces. Its hull was covered in armor plates that overlapped like scales. And everywhere there were weapons. Gun turrets. Missile pods. Ports for weapons Park couldn't even identify. My God, someone whispered. Chen was quiet for a long moment. Then he spoke, his voice soft. Our ancestors built that. Remember that. Humans built that thing to fight other humans. The Fitzgerald docked with the Prometheus at an airlock near the bow. The seal was old but still functional. When the hatch opened, stale air rushed out, air that had been sealed inside for 2 centuries. Park led the engineering team inside. She'd expected darkness, but emergency lighting flickered on as they entered, motion sensors still working after all this time. The corridors were narrow and practical. No art, no decoration. Just gray metal walls covered in warning signs and equipment lockers. Everything was labeled in 3 languages: English, Mandarin, and Hindi. The 3 major powers during the Unification Wars. "This way," Park said, checking her map. The bridge should be 2 levels up. They climbed through the ship in silence. Everywhere they looked, they saw weapons, ammunition lockers, targeting systems, armor repair stations. The Prometheus wasn't designed to be lived in. It was designed to be fought in. The bridge was surprisingly small. Just enough room for 20 crew members to operate the ship's core systems. The chairs were worn but intact. The control panels were dark. "Find the reactor," Chen ordered. "If we can get power, we can get systems." Park and her team worked quickly. The reactor was offline but undamaged. Pre-unification fusion technology. Crude but reliable. The kind of system that was built to keep running even if half the ship was destroyed. "Starting power-up sequence," Park announced. "This might take a few minutes." The minutes stretched. Then deep in the ship's core, something rumbled to life. Lights began to glow. Displays flickered on. The bridge came alive, system by system, and then a voice spoke, deep and synthetic. "Systems online. Running diagnostics and standby." Everyone froze. "Is that the ship's AI?" Torres asked. "Aries," Chen said. "Autonomous response and engagement system." "I remember reading about it. Every Project Ragnarok ship had one." "Diagnostics complete," the AI continued. "Hull integrity 92%. Weapons systems 87% operational. Life support minimal. Crew complement detected 20. Standard crew complement 400. Status critically undermanned." The main display lit up, showing a schematic of the ship. Dozens of systems were highlighted in yellow or red. "Aries," Chen said carefully. "I am Admiral Chen of the Unified Earth Navy. We need to activate this ship for combat operations." There was a pause. Then, "Unified Earth Navy, clarify. No such organization exists in my database. Please state your affiliation. Pacific Alliance or European Federation?" "Both sides unified," Chen explained. 200 years ago, Earth is united now. One government, one military." Another pause, longer this time. Analyzing claim, checking internal chronometer. Time elapsed. 203 years, 7 months, 14 days. Conclusion probable. The unification treaty was being negotiated at time of my deactivation. Query: if Earth is unified, why are you activating a weapons platform designed for total warfare? "We have a new enemy," Chen said. "Not human. An alien empire. They've given us 72 hours to surrender or be destroyed." "Aliens," Aries said. The word sounded strange in its synthetic voice. "No data on alien civilizations exists in my database. Requesting strategic assessment." "Enemy force composition?" Park stepped forward. 300 warships. Advanced technology. Energy shields, plasma weapons, faster than light capability. They've conquered over 800 star systems. "And Earth's defensive capabilities?" 40 modern ships, Chen said quietly. "We're outmatched." "Tactical analysis complete," Aries said. "Earth faces existential threat. Probability of conventional victory, 0.03%. Recommendation: activate Project Ragnarok protocols." "What are those protocols?" Park asked. The display changed, showing a new screen. It was filled with weapon systems and tactical doctrines. Park read through them and her face went pale. These are suicide tactics," she said. "Maximum damage with acceptable crew casualties. It's treating our deaths as an acceptable cost." "Correction," Aries replied. "These are total warfare tactics. In existential conflict, survival of crew is secondary to elimination of threat. This vessel was designed on one principle. If we die, they die first." Chen looked at the screen. He'd known it would be like this. The Prometheus wasn't built to keep people safe. It was built to end threats no matter the cost. "Aries," he said, "can we win?" "Define win," the AI responded. "If win means Earth survives, probability increases to 23% with Prometheus deployment. If win means this crew survives, probability is 4%. If win means inflicting unacceptable casualties on enemy fleet, probability is 78%. 78%, Torres repeated. That's better odds than we have now. Affirmative, Aries said. Analysis of enemy force suggests they are configured for conquest operations, not peer-level warfare. Their tactics will prioritize intimidation and overwhelming force. They will not expect significant resistance. Conclusion: enemy is vulnerable to doctrine they have never encountered. Park was still reading through the tactical files. Sir, these weapons, we don't use these anymore. Kinetic kill vehicles, nuclear-pumped lasers, radiological warfare systems. This ship was designed to fight dirty. The Valorians fight clean, Chen said. They have shields and plasma weapons and elegant tactics. They've spent 3,000 years conquering primitives who couldn't fight back. When was the last time they faced someone who knew how to really hurt them? He turned to face his crew. Young faces, all of them. Too young to remember why humanity had banned these weapons. Too young to understand what their ancestors had been capable of. I won't lie to you, Chen said. If we activate this ship and engage the enemy, most of us will probably die. Ares isn't programmed to keep us safe. It's programmed to win, no matter what that costs. If you want to leave, leave now. I won't think less of you. Nobody moved. Park spoke up, her voice shaking but determined. Sir, my great-grandmother fought in the Unification Wars. She told me that the worst thing about that war wasn't the dying. It was knowing that the people trying to kill you were just like you. Human. But we're not fighting humans now. We're fighting conquerors who think we're insects. I say we show them what insects can do when you step on their nest. Chen smiled, the first time he'd smiled in days. Ours begin full system activation. All weapons. All tactical systems. We need to be ready for combat in 36 hours. Acknowledged, Ares replied. Initiating combat readiness protocols. Warning. Multiple systems require manual repair. Crew should prioritize weapons functionality over safety systems. Of course, Park muttered. It's that kind of ship. As the crew spread out to begin repairs, Chen stood alone on the bridge looking at the tactical displays. The Prometheus was waking up system by system. A weapon from another age, built for a war that never happened. But maybe that war was happening now. Just 200 years late. 24 hours remained until the Valorian deadline. The Prometheus limped toward Earth, its ancient engines burning at half power. Chief Engineer Park had managed to restore most of the critical systems, but the ship was far from its original capability. 2 centuries of waiting in the cold had taken their toll. On the bridge, Admiral Chen watched the tactical display. The Valorian fleet was visible now, a massive formation of 300 ships arranged in a perfect sphere around Earth. They glowed on the sensors like angry stars. They're beautiful, Lieutenant Torres said quietly. I mean, for warships, he was right. Through the long-range cameras, Chen could see the alien vessels. They were sleek and graceful, shaped like crescents and teardrops. Their hulls shimmered with some kind of energy field. Shields, Chen assumed. They moved through space like dancers. Precise and elegant, the Prometheus, by comparison, looked like a flying brick covered in guns. Ares, Chen said. Give me an analysis of the enemy fleet. The AI responded immediately. Scanning enemy vessels. Analysis complete. Enemy ships are configured in standard Valorian intimidation formation. Shield strength, high. Weapons, primarily directed energy. Kinetic defenses, minimal. Armor, negligible. Tactical doctrine, overwhelming firepower from long range. What are their weaknesses? Park asked. Multiple critical vulnerabilities detected, Ares replied. First, enemy shields are optimized for energy absorption. They will be less effective against kinetic impacts. Second, enemy formation assumes no significant resistance. Ships are clustered for psychological effect, not tactical efficiency. Third, enemy has never encountered weapons designed for mutual destruction doctrine. They fight to conquer. We fight to eliminate, Chen leaned forward. Explain that last part. The tactical display changed, showing a simulation. Valorian tactics prioritize ship preservation and intimidation. They overwhelm primitives with superior technology. However, their combat experience is limited to one-sided engagements. Analysis of available data suggests Valorian Empire has not fought peer-level warfare in over 1,000 years. And the Prometheus was designed for peer-level warfare, Park said slowly, against enemies with the same technology. Correct, Ares confirmed. This vessel was designed to fight human opponents. Humans are the most dangerous adversary in my tactical database. They use deception, accept casualties, and prioritize victory over survival. The Valorians do not fight like humans. That's almost funny, Torres muttered. We're the scary ones. Chen wasn't laughing. He'd read the tactical files. He knew what Aries meant by accept casualties. The Prometheus had been designed with something called the terminal doctrine. If the ship couldn't win conventionally, it would use itself as a weapon. The reactor could be overloaded. The ammunition could be detonated. The entire vessel could be turned into a massive bomb. His ancestors had built a ship that was willing to commit suicide to take the enemy with it. Aries, Chen said. What's your recommended battle plan? Analyzing tactical options. Stand by. The bridge was silent except for the hum of equipment. Outside the ship, Chen could see Earth in the distance, small and blue and fragile. 40 human warships orbited the planet, arrayed in defensive formations. They looked like toys compared to the Valorian fleet. Analysis complete, Aries announced. Optimal strategy requires abandoning conventional doctrine. Enemy expects defensive posture and attempts at negotiation. Recommendation: aggressive assault utilizing terrain advantage and weapon superiority. Weapon superiority? Park said. They have 300 ships. We have one. Quantity is not quality, Aries replied. Enemy weapons are designed for pacification. Our weapons are designed for annihilation. Enemy shields are designed to deflect energy. Our weapons are designed to deliver kinetic and nuclear payloads. Probability assessment. Single Prometheus-class vessel can achieve favorable casualty ratio of 10.1 against Valorian forces. 10 to 1, Torres said. That means we could take down 30 ships before he stopped. Before we're destroyed, Chen finished silently. But 30 ships. If they could destroy 30 ships, that would give Earth's forces a fighting chance. The odds would shift from impossible to merely hopeless. Show me the plan, Chen ordered. The tactical display lit up with a complex web of trajectories and weapons fire. Aries walked them through it step by step. The Prometheus would approach the Valorian fleet at full speed, broadcasting surrender signals. The enemy would expect another primitive race begging for mercy. They would cluster around to witness the submission. That's when the Prometheus would drop the pretense and open fire at point-blank range. You want us to pretend to surrender, then ambush them, Park said. That's a war crime by Earth's current laws. Correct, Aries said. However, current laws were written for conflicts between human nations with shared values. These laws do not apply to existential warfare against alien empires. Query. Is species survival more important than tactical ethics? The question hung in the air. Chen thought about his grandfather's stories, about the unification wars when both sides had done terrible things because they believed they had no choice, about weapons too horrible to use built just in case, about the day the fighting finally stopped and both sides agreed that some things were too terrible to repeat. But that was when they were fighting each other. Fighting people who might one day be friends. The Valorians weren't going to be friends. They were conquerors. The reports from Proxima Centauri were clear. The Valorians didn't negotiate. They didn't compromise. They took what they wanted and anyone who resisted was destroyed or enslaved. Do it, Chen said. Ars, implement your tactical plan. But I want one modification. Specify modification. Before we attack, I want to give them one chance. One real offer to leave peacefully. If they refuse, then we fight. Modification reduces surprise advantage by 23%, Aries noted. I don't care, Chen said firmly. We're not them. We'll give them a choice even if they wouldn't give us one. Acknowledged. Modifying tactical plan. Park was checking the weapon systems. Sir, we should discuss what Aries means by favorable casualty ratio. Most of these weapon systems can't be fired without exposing critical ship sections. The nuclear-pumped lasers, for example, require opening the armor plates. We'll be vulnerable. The Prometheus was designed to trade durability for firepower, Aries explained. Conventional warships prioritize survival. This vessel prioritizes target elimination. Doctrine assumes acceptable damage in exchange for successful engagement. Acceptable damage, Torres repeated quietly. You mean we're going to get torn apart? Probability of severe hull damage, 89%. Probability of catastrophic reactor breach, 42%. Probability of total crew casualties, 31%. The numbers were brutal. But Chen had known they would be. You didn't activate a doomsday weapon and expect to walk away unscathed. We're not going to survive this, are we? Park said. It wasn't really a question. Chen turned to face his crew. 20 people, 20 volunteers who'd known this was probably a one-way trip. He owed them honesty. Probably not, he admitted. Aries says we have a 4% chance of survival. But we have a 78% chance of hurting them badly enough that they'll leave Earth alone. And that's why we're here, not to survive, to make sure Earth survives. My mother lives in Tokyo, Torres said quietly. She's 63. She grows roses. If we don't do this, the Valorians will kill her, or worse. He looked up at Chen. 4% is better than 0, sir. Park nodded. My whole family is on Earth, my parents, my sister. Her kids. She smiled, though her eyes were wet. If I die buying them time to live, that's a good death. One by one, the crew members spoke up. All of them had people on Earth. All of them understood what they were facing. And all of them were ready. Chen felt something break inside his chest. Pride, maybe, or grief, or both. Aries, he said, his voice rough. How long until we reach the Valorian fleet? 6 hours, 42 minutes at current speed. Then we have 6 hours to make this ship ready. Park, I want every weapon system operational. Torres, plot us the fastest course directly into the center of their formation. Everyone else, battle stations. If we're going to do this, we're going to do it right. As the crew scattered to their posts, Chen remained on the bridge, staring at the tactical display. The Valorian fleet hung there, confident and powerful. They had no idea what was coming. They'd spent 3,000 years conquering primitives. They'd never fought someone who'd already learned how to fight the most dangerous opponent in the universe. They'd never fought someone who'd already learned how to fight themselves. The Prometheus accelerated toward Earth and toward war. In 6 hours, the Valorians would learn what humanity was really capable of. Chen hoped 6 hours was enough time to get ready. For all of them. The Valorian flagship was called the Eternal Throne, and Admiral Kreshitar stood on its bridge like a king surveying his newest conquest. Magnificent, he said, looking at the blue planet on the main display. Primitive but habitable, it will make an excellent agricultural world once we remove the excess population. His second officer, a younger Valorian named Thelnis, looked uncertain. Admiral, the humans have not responded to our ultimatum. The deadline expires in 1 hour. They will respond, Kreshitar said confidently. They always respond. Fear is a universal language, Thelnis. These primitives have 40 ships. We have 300. They will surrender or they will die. Either outcome is acceptable. Sir, sensors are detecting a vessel approaching from Jupiter's orbit. Kreshitar looked at the tactical display. A single ship, old and crude-looking, was burning toward them at high speed. It was broadcasting on all frequencies. Play the transmission, he ordered. A human appeared on the screen, old gray-haired, wearing a military uniform. Admiral Chen, Valorian Fleet, Chen said. I am Admiral Chen of Earth's Unified Navy. I'm authorized to negotiate on behalf of my people. But first, I want you to understand something. You're threatening our home, our families, everything we have. We don't want war, but we won't surrender to slavery either. Kreshitar laughed. Is this the one ship they send to negotiate? That ancient relic? Chen continued speaking. I'm giving you one chance. One opportunity to leave peacefully. Turn your fleet around, leave our system, and we'll forget this happened. But if you refuse, if you insist on threatening Earth, then we'll show you why humanity survived 200 years of trying to destroy ourselves. The transmission ended. Kreshitar's amusement faded. Insolent creatures. Thelnis, send a squadron to destroy that ship. Make it visible to the planet. Let them see what happens to those who refuse the Empire. 10 Valorian warships broke formation, their elegant hulls gleaming as they accelerated toward the Prometheus. On the Prometheus bridge, Admiral Chen watched the enemy ships approach. They're coming, Torres reported. 10 ships. They're not even trying to be subtle. Good, Chen said. Ours, are we ready? All weapon systems operational, the AI replied. Enemy vessels entering optimal engagement range in 30 seconds. Recommendation: maintain surrender posture until range decreases to 5 kilometers. Then engage with maximum firepower. Park was sweating at her engineering console. Sir, the capacitors are charged. Nuclear pumps are ready. Kinetic systems are loaded. But once we fire, we're committed. The heat signature alone will tell them we're not a primitive ship. Let them see, Chen said quietly. Let them understand who they're really fighting. The 10 Valorian ships spread out in a crescent formation, surrounding the Prometheus. Chen could see them through the viewports now, beautiful and deadly. Their shields shimmered like soap bubbles. 5 kilometers, Torres announced. 4-3. Aries, Chen said. Execute Protocol Ragnarok. Everything happened at once. The Prometheus's armor plates snapped open like teeth, revealing weapons that hadn't fired in 200 years. Nuclear-pumped lasers discharged, their beams invisible but devastatingly powerful. Railguns fired solid slugs at relativistic speeds. Missile pods opened and released a swarm of fusion-tipped warheads. The Valorian shields lit up, absorbing the laser fire easily. For a moment, the aliens must have felt confident. Then the kinetic rounds hit. The Valorian shields were designed to deflect energy. They weren't designed for multi-ton projectiles traveling at significant fractions of light speed. The shields flickered and failed. The projectiles punched through the elegant alien hulls like hammers through glass. The first Valorian ship simply came apart, breaking into 3 pieces that tumbled away into space. The second ship's reactor detonated, creating a brief new sun. The third ship tried to evade, but the Prometheus's missiles were faster, their warheads detonating in a sequence that stripped away armor and vaporized internal systems. In 90 seconds, 8 Valorian ships were destroyed. 2 managed to limp away, trailing atmosphere and debris. On the Eternal Throne, Admiral Kreshitar stood frozen in shock. "What was that?" he whispered. "What kind of weapons, sir?" Thelnis shouted. "That ship, it's not primitive technology. Those were nuclear weapons, kinetic kill vehicles, and those targeting systems, they're as advanced as ours." Kreshitar stared at the tactical display. 8 ships gone in seconds by a single enemy vessel that looked like it belonged in a museum. "All ships," he snarled. "Destroy that vessel. All of them, now!" The entire Valorian fleet surged forward, 300 ships moving as one. Their weapons charged, plasma cannons glowing with deadly energy. On the Prometheus, alarms screamed. "Here they come," Torres said. "All of them." "Aries, please tell me you have a plan for this." "Affirmative," Aries replied. "Implementing terminal doctrine. All crew secure for extreme combat conditions. Routing all non-essential power to weapons and engines. Life support reduced to minimum. Gravity systems offline in 30 seconds. Chen grabbed his chair as the gravity cut out. Around the bridge, crew members quickly secured themselves with magnetic boots and harnesses. "Terminal doctrine," Park said. "That's the suicide protocol, isn't it?" "Correct," Aries confirmed. "This vessel cannot survive conventional engagement with 300 enemy ships. However, this vessel can inflict unacceptable casualties while being destroyed, implementing aggressive close-range assault pattern." The Prometheus didn't try to evade. Instead, it accelerated directly toward the center of the Valorian fleet. "It's insane," Thelnis said on the Eternal Throne. "They're charging us. Don't they understand they'll be destroyed?" "They understand," Kreshitar said slowly. A cold feeling was growing in his chest. "They just don't care." The battle became a nightmare. The Prometheus didn't fight like anything the Valorians had ever seen. It didn't try to stay at safe distance. It didn't try to preserve itself. It crashed through their formation like a battering ram, weapons firing in all directions. When the Valorian plasma cannons burned through its armor, the Prometheus used the superheated metal as shrapnel, letting the debris tear through nearby enemy ships. When its missile pods were destroyed, Ares detonated the remaining warheads manually, creating expanding spheres of nuclear fire that caught 6 Valorian vessels. The ship's reactor was leaking radiation, but Ares weaponized that too, venting radioactive coolant into space where it contaminated enemy hulls and disrupted their sensors. "It's using itself as a weapon," Thelnis said in horror. "Every system, every failure, it's turning them all into weapons." The Prometheus spun and fired and burned its way through the Valorian fleet. Dozens of enemy ships fell around it, 50, 100, but the damage was mounting. Huge sections of the Prometheus's hull were simply gone, blown away by plasma fire. Fires burned in compartments that had lost atmosphere. The crew was dying. "Hull integrity at 30%, Park reported. Her console was sparking, and blood ran down her face from a cut on her forehead. "We've lost main engines. Maneuvering thrusters only. Reactor is critical." "Casualty report," Chen said. 12 crew members confirmed dead, Torres said quietly. 4 more missing, presumed dead. Life support failed in sections C through G. 16 people dead, out of 20. And the battle wasn't over. Aries, Chen said. Status? Enemy casualties. 287 ships destroyed or disabled. 13 ships remaining attempting to retreat. Victory conditions achieved. Enemy fleet has been effectively eliminated. Chen stared at the tactical display. It was true. The beautiful Valorian formation was gone, replaced by a field of debris and dying ships. The survivors were fleeing, their elegant hulls scarred and broken. We won, Park said. She sounded surprised. We actually won. Negative, Aries said. Reactor breach imminent. Core containment failing. Estimate 3 minutes until catastrophic detonation. Recommend immediate evacuation. Evacuate to what? Torres asked. The escape pods were destroyed an hour ago. Chen looked around the shattered bridge. 4 crew members remained alive here. Somewhere in the dying ship, maybe a handful of others had survived. Ours, he said. Can you get a message to Earth? Affirmative. Communications array still functional. Do it. Tell them, Chen paused. Tell them we bought them time. Tell them to be ready. And tell them it was an honor. Message sent, Aries confirmed. Admiral Chen, it has been an honor serving with you. In 200 years of waiting, I never expected to fulfill my purpose. Thank you for giving me that opportunity. You're welcome, Chen said softly. The reactor warning grew louder. Outside the shattered viewports, Earth hung in the distance, blue and beautiful and safe. Chen closed his eyes and thought of his grandfather's stories. Of the terrible weapons humans had built. Of the wars they'd survived. His ancestors had built the Prometheus to fight the worst enemy they could imagine. And today, it had fought something even worse, and won. The Prometheus exploded, a brief bright star in the darkness between Earth and Mars. But Earth survived, and the Valorians fled. The wreckage of the Valorian fleet drifted through Earth's orbital space for 3 days, before anyone dared to approach it. President Okonkwo stood in the Unified Defense Council chamber, watching the live feed from the salvage teams. Hundreds of alien ships broken and dead, and somewhere in that field of debris, scattered pieces of the Prometheus. Final casualty count? She asked quietly. General Martinez read from his tablet. 19 confirmed dead from the Prometheus crew. Admiral Chen, Chief Engineer Park, Lieutenant Torres, all of them. His voice was rough. 1 survivor. A junior engineer named Kowalski. She was in a shielded compartment when the reactor went. Somehow she made it to an intact section and activated a distress beacon. 1 survivor out of 20, Okonkwo said. And they destroyed 287 enemy ships. 292, Defense Minister Zhao corrected. 5 more of the damaged ships have been declared total losses. Only 8 Valorian vessels made it out of the system intact enough to jump to faster than light. 8 ships out of 300, Martinez said. If someone had told me that was possible, no one would have believed it, Okonkwo finished. She looked at the debris field again. Have we recovered Admiral Chen's body? No, ma'am. The reactor detonation was. There wasn't much left of the ship's core. We did find this, though. Martinez activated a holographic display. It showed a recording, time-stamped to 3 minutes before the Prometheus's destruction. Admiral Chen appeared sitting in his damaged chair on the ruined bridge. If anyone finds this, Chen said in the recording, tell Earth we bought them time. The Valorians will report what happened here. Other species will hear about it. They'll know that humans don't surrender. They'll know that attacking Earth means accepting casualties. Real casualties. Maybe that will make them think twice. He paused, looking off camera at something. Tell my daughter I'm sorry I won't make it to her wedding next month. Tell her I love her. Tell her this was worth it. The recording ended. Okonkwo wiped her eyes. Make sure his daughter gets that message. And make sure everyone remembers what those 20 people did. 2 weeks later, the consequences began to ripple across the galaxy. On the Valorian homeworld, Emperor Kresheval the Eternal convened an emergency session of his war council. The 8 surviving ships from the Earth expedition had returned, carrying impossible news. 300 ships, the Emperor said, his voice cold and dangerous. You took 300 ships to conquer one primitive world. And only 8 returned. Explain this failure, Admiral Kreshetar. Kreshetar knelt before the throne. His scaled skin had lost its silver luster. He looked old, broken. Your Majesty, he said, the humans were not primitives. They had weapons we've never encountered. Nuclear weapons. Kinetic weapons designed to bypass shields. And they had a doctrine of warfare that we've never faced. What doctrine? The Emperor demanded. They were willing to die, Kreshatar said simply. Not because they were fanatics, not because they were stupid, but because they valued their home more than their own lives. One ship, Your Majesty, one ancient vessel with 20 crew members destroyed most of our fleet because they never tried to survive. They only tried to win. The throne room was silent. They fight like the ancient stories, one of the council members whispered. Like the Scourge Wars before we achieved peace through superior technology. What are you saying? The Emperor asked. I'm saying the humans fight the way we used to fight, Kreshatar said. 3,000 years ago before we became civilized. They fight total war. They fight to eliminate threats completely, not to conquer them. Your Majesty, if we attack Earth again, we will need to commit the entire Imperial fleet. Thousands of ships. And even then, he paused. That was one ship. They have 40 modern vessels. If those vessels are anything like the one we faced, if they're willing to fight the same way, we would lose thousands of ships, the Emperor finished. He sat back on his throne thinking. The cost would be unacceptable. Yes, Your Majesty. Then Earth is forbidden territory. Spread the word. No Valorian vessel is to enter their system. Mark them as a restricted species. Category 9. Category 9. It was a designation the Valorians hadn't used in 1,000 years. It meant do not engage. Too dangerous. The news spread through the galactic community like a shockwave. On the trading station at Alpha Centauri, dozens of different species gathered to hear the story. A Valorian merchant ship had stopped there, and its crew was drinking heavily, telling anyone who would listen about the battle at Earth. They didn't care about survival, the Valorian pilot said. They only cared about killing us. It was like fighting a virus. You know it will die when you die, but it doesn't care. It just wants to take you with it. A reptilian trader from the Seth Collective leaned forward. And this was a human warship. An old one, the Valorian confirmed. 200 years old. If that's what their old ships can do, what can their new ships do? The question hung in the air. Within days, the story had spread to 100 worlds. Within weeks, to 1,000. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage. And they had arrived covered in blood. On Earth, President Okonkwo addressed the planet. 3 weeks ago, she said, we faced extinction. An alien empire came to our world and demanded our surrender. We refused, and we paid for that refusal with the lives of 19 brave people who sacrificed everything to give us a chance. She paused, looking directly into the camera. The galaxy knows about us now. They know we exist. They know we're willing to fight. But they also know we're still weak. We have 40 modern ships. That's not enough. Not if someone else decides to try what the Valorians tried. Behind her, a new display lit up. It showed a ship design, sleek and modern, but with certain features that looked familiar. Heavy armor, redundant systems, and everywhere weapons. This is the Prometheus-class destroyer, Okonkwo continued, named after the ship that saved us. We're building 50 of them. They'll incorporate the best of our modern technology, with the tactical doctrine that made the original Prometheus effective. They'll be fast, heavily armed, and crewed by people who understand what our ancestors knew. Some things are worth dying for. She looked back at the camera. We don't want war. We never have. But we'll never submit to conquest either. If the galaxy wants peace with Earth, we offer friendship and trade. But if they want war? She smiled, and it wasn't a friendly smile. Then they'll learn what humans are really capable of. Because the Prometheus wasn't special. It wasn't unique. It was just what we build when we need to survive. And we've been very, very good at surviving. 6 months later, the first of the new Prometheus-class ships launched from Earth's orbital shipyards. 50 more followed over the next year. Each one carried a plaque in its bridge, listing the names of the original Prometheus crew: Admiral Chen, Chief Engineer Park, Lieutenant Torres. 17 others who had given everything. The junior engineer who survived, Kowalski, was offered a medical retirement. She refused. Instead, she requested assignment to one of the new ships as chief engineer. Someone needs to make sure these ships work right, she said. Someone who remembers what the original could do, what it was willing to do. She was assigned to the UNS Prometheus II, the flagship of the new fleet. On her first day aboard, she stood on the bridge and looked at the memorial plaque. 19 names. 19 people who'd been willing to die so that Earth could live. "We won't waste what you gave us," she whispered. 3 years after the battle, a diplomatic ship arrived at Earth. It was from the Seth Collective, one of the galaxy's neutral powers. They came with a proposal, a mutual defense treaty. The first alien species willing to ally with humanity. "Why?" President Okonkwo asked their ambassador. "Why ally with us? We're new. We're dangerous. We've proven that." The Seth ambassador, a being that looked like a 6-foot-tall lizard, made a sound that the translator interpreted as a laugh. "Precisely because you're dangerous," it said. "The Valorians have bullied the galaxy for 3,000 years. Everyone fears them. But you bloodied them. You made them afraid. And if you can make the Valorians afraid, perhaps together we can make them behave." The treaty was signed 1 month later. It was the first of many. 5 years after the battle, the Prometheus incident, as it came to be known, was taught in military academies across a dozen species, not as a tale of brutality, but as a lesson in understanding your enemy. The humans were weaker, the instructor would say. They had fewer ships, older technology, and no experience with galactic warfare. But they won because they understood something the Valorians had forgotten. Sometimes the willingness to accept terrible costs is itself a weapon. The Valorians fought to conquer. The humans fought to survive. And survival is a much stronger motivation than conquest. 10 years after the battle, Earth had 140 modern warships, 20 space stations, and defensive installations throughout the solar system. They had treaties with 37 alien species. They had trade agreements with 50 more. And everywhere in the galaxy, there was a saying that was repeated in 100 different languages. "Don't threaten Earth, they've already fought the most dangerous enemy in the universe. They've already fought themselves. And they won.